Faster Fluency Conversation Club podcast, episode 320, Motivation versus Discipline. Welcome to the Faster Fluency Conversation Club podcast by Business English with Christina. The Faster Fluency Conversation Club takes place on Zoom and is a way for you to improve your fluency and confidence in English by talking about real-world topics. We meet for 1 hour every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and we would love you to join us. If you want to practice your English, become more confident, and meet people just like you from all around the world, and have guidance from my expert teachers and me, just click the link in the show notes. Our podcast listeners receive a 50% discount on the first month of membership with the discount code FFCC50. Come and join us today. Hey everybody, Christina here with the Faster Fluency Conversation Club podcast, and I'm back with Linda today. Linda, how are you doing today?
I'm all right.
All right. Yeah, good.
Happy to be here.
Happy to be here. So, yeah, same here. Yeah, I'm always happy when we're doing podcasts and putting all this together because I don't know, I think it's a lot of fun, and it's, just give students and listeners a little sneak peek behind the scenes. We don't know where these conversations are going to go, to be honest. Like, we have the topic. We might talk very briefly about some points we could touch on. But other than that, it's, a very spontaneous, natural conversation because we want to give you guys that kind of resource to help you better learn to understand conversations with native speakers, but also to feel comfortable when you don't understand every single word. With all that being said, today we're talking about motivation and discipline. And Linda, I'd be curious to know what your thoughts are on motivation versus discipline in language learning or learning in general.
Yeah, I think they kind of have to be a little bit interdependent, right? So it's difficult to sustain your motivation if you don't have some kind of a plan. So you need a little bit of both, right?
Yeah.
A little bit of discipline. Well, a lot of both maybe is more accurate.
Right. Maybe the more the better, but sometimes you have to take what you can get and make the best out of it also.
Yeah, but I mean, sometimes, especially when students they hit a plateau, things get a little bit stagnant. It can be really difficult to just keep going based off of their motivation.
Yeah.
It really has to be that you have a plan set in place in that form of discipline so that it pushes you through when you lose your motivation, because that happens.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. I think it's totally normal to not feel motivated all the time. And I think generally, a lot of people, maybe they go through a cycle. It's like when they start a project, you're super motivated and you're like, I'm going to do English like an hour every day, and I'm going to do it every day of the week. And you might do that for like 1 week or maybe 3 days, and you still feel that motivation. But then that motivation might turn into, I know I need to do this, or I wish I had more time to do this, or I wish this was easier. And then you can get into like a bit of a slump. And I think there's the risk of, as we say, like falling off the wagon. And that's when your discipline really has to take over to get you to the result that you want to get to, I think.
It's the truth. I was talking with my therapist about this year. I'd really like to make one of my things that I want to do and that I'm trying to be motivated on is to get more in shape and make time for sports, athletics, and eating more healthy. And it's one of those things that it's really difficult to keep your motivation. When one of your friends says, hey, you want to go out for pizza?
Yeah.
No, I have salad at home.
Right. You're like, maybe like in your mind, you're thinking, okay, maybe just this one time I can do it, but it's hard. Yeah, it is.
So we were talking about making sure that you set a meeting with yourself and that you keep that date like it's an appointment with your doctor, like to make it so that it's something that's so important that you won't cancel the meeting.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that people need to do with language learning as well.
Yeah, definitely agree. And that's something that I do. Like right now, I'm training to do a marathon in Rome at the end of March.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, I'm very excited about this. And yeah, like just today after the podcast, I have to go out and run because that's on my program. I don't want to. Like it's as we're
Yep.
recording this, it's
Yep.
11:30. I'm hungry. It's freezing cold outside. And in the co-working space I'm at, we do have showers, but it's like 15 degrees Celsius in the shower room. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't want to do this. And I have a lot of work to do for the business. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like I
Right.
really am not looking forward to going running. But at the same time, I've got that program and I know that I have to do it because it says on my session today, do not miss this session. I could do it another day, that's fine, but yeah, I've blocked off the time to do it today. So
Yes.
I'm going to do it today because tomorrow I won't have the time and I know I need to. And I think it's, for me, it's running. For you, it's maybe getting back in shape. And maybe for the
Yep.
listeners, it's learning language, but it's all the same. You have to work at building, I would say, building that discipline for yourself because it's a process and it takes work and you don't get it right. I was going to say the first time, but maybe many times, but you have to keep working at it because you know that there's the result that you want that's waiting for you at the end.
Well, it's exactly that. So one of the things that I need to do, I
Mm.
also need to take here in France. It's the DELF test.
Yeah.
So the next step for me is to have the 10-year residence card.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I've been doing 1 year, 2 year,
Right. Yeah.
but now it's the next step. And I
Yeah.
have to show that I've reached a certain level in French. And I know
Mm.
I've reached that level, but I need to test that
Yeah.
level. And
Right.
I know that I need to do some practice tests, but
Yeah.
I haven't made time to do it. So of course it hasn't happened.
Right. And I think maybe something also that can help with finding the discipline to really get moving on something you know that you need to do, it's to maybe project yourself into the future and what will happen if you don't get that result that you
Yep.
want, the
That's exactly where
consequences.
I'm at.
Yeah,
Yep.
right. Okay. Yeah, because you're like, if I don't get the result on the test, I don't get my residence card, which, and all those other consequences. And I think just imagining yourself in that place because you chose not to do the work to get there, like that's just not a nice feeling at all. And I think it's the same with me in the marathon training. I'm like, I want to finish this race because I'm going with a bunch of friends
Yep.
who are running it also. So I don't want to be the one person who didn't finish. I want to enjoy it. So I don't want to be suffering the entire time. And I want to be able to do it, but in like good conditions.
I think you hit on a really good point there because here you're talking about what will happen if you don't do it, but maybe a way to get your motivation back is
Mm.
to imagine yourself in that good place. That
Also, yeah.
you have done a great job. You ran with your friends, kept pace, or
Yeah.
maybe even at a better pace. I mean,
Yeah.
to imagine things going the best way possible, and that can possibly help you get your motivation
Mm.
back as well.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Yeah, is that maybe visualizing sort of like
yeah,
the
exactly.
positive consequences so that you're like, yeah, okay, I'm super motivated and now I want to do it because I want to get that thing. And then also the negative ones because you're like, oh, and if I don't
Yep.
actually push myself to be disciplined, this is what's going to happen. And I really want to avoid that situation. So maybe it's a bit of both motivation and discipline, but I think discipline has to be able to step in and take over when the motivation fails. Yeah.
I agree.
Words of
Mhm.
wisdom to live by right there. Okie dokie. Well, thank you very much, Linda, for sharing all that with us. And
Thank you.
talk to you soon.
Perfect. Thanks.
Thank you for listening again this week. As a bonus for our listeners, we now offer the transcript of this episode for free so you can read after listening. Our goal is to help you improve all aspects of your English. And when you become a member of the Faster Fluency Conversation Club, each week you also get exercises on grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, and more directly connected to the topic of the conversation each week. In addition to the daily speaking practice in the club, you'll also make friends around the world with professionals just like you, so you have fun learning and remember what you learned better. And because you listen to this podcast, you get a 50% discount on your first month of membership. Just use the code FFCC50. And if you'd like to join the club, the link for more details is in the show notes for this podcast. We hope to see you in the club.